Food production in our History Untold is definitely a sore point for a lot of players, and it can be quite problematic to get the food going and get your cities growing. So let's talk about how to improve on this and how to make at least sure that your people are not starving and not dying in the streets because of malnourishment. So the first thing you have to know is the difference between, well, global food and local food. Local food is what you are finding in your cities. It's pretty simple. You can see it right here. And you want to make sure that your cities have the local food to actually feed their people so that the city can continue to grow. It doesn't matter how much food you are producing on a global scale. If you are not having food on a local level for the city, they will not grow, no matter what you are doing. So make sure that this is always in place if you want to grow your city. The second thing is, of course, as I said, the global food. And the global food is all the local food combined. And that means that when one of your cities is running out of local food, the global food is jumping in and is making sure that your city is not shrinking and that the people are not dying. So it doesn't grow anymore, but it's also not shrinking. And so you want to make sure that both is always on the plus side, at least when it comes to the food you have on a global level, so you never have to deal with famines in your city. But how do you make your city grow the whole time? How do you get more people? Because let's be real here, you need people, not just for the growth, but also for tax reasons. If you want to know more about taxes, by the way, check out my previous video I made about how to make money. But you need more people for that as well. And the reason why this works in Ara how it is twofold. First, they don't want you that you are growing the whole time. There are definitely moments where you are not supposed to grow for a little bit, where you want to focus on what's going on in your city, and then you want to grow again. I know that a lot of people want to grow very quickly, a lot, but take your time. Like seriously, as long as you are making sure that your global food income is okay and your people are not starving, it is completely fine when your city doesn't grow for a little bit. Like, you can see right here, I'm in the end game and I have a city level of 25. I can probably crank it up to 30, but this is pretty late in the end game. I'm at turn 400 and I'm in the atomic age. So again, your cities grow relatively quickly at the beginning and then it slows down significantly, and that is fine. That's how it works. There is one small difference here, and I will not talk about this today because I think that's not what I want to focus on, is there are some leaders and some nations in the game which will give you a huge grow buff, and you will actually grow your cities quite quickly. Yes, looking at you, Egypt. And that's not what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the things which will be helpful to everyone, no matter what you are playing. And one of the reasons why food is such an interesting thing here is also because they are trying to stick with how the reality has been, right? In the past, humanity had problems with feeding their populations, or most of them, right? And food was a problem. And so they're trying to put that here into the game. But if you're looking for a gameplay reason and you're just thinking, well, that's great mode, that doesn't really help me with the problem. The problem is, I think, a little bit of balance, but also what you have to do. So the balance reason is that when you are building farms, the next upgrade of the farms are the irrigated farms, right? And you get that in the Iron Age. Then, up till the Industrial Age, you're not getting any farm upgrades. It's a bit crazy when you think about it, right? The next upgrade would be the Industrial Farm, and you will get that in the Industrial Age. So from the Iron Age to the Industrial Age, there is not a single farm upgrade coming in, even though your population is growing. And that is where the slowdown is coming in. And of course, the question is, well, what can I do about it? Do I just have to punch through that? And do I have to deal with it? The answer is no. There are things you can actually do here. And the first thing is you want to get the heavy plow in the high medieval era, which is increasing your harvest production, right? The other supplies will also only be unlocked in the industrial age, so you don't really have to think about it beforehand. And you want to put in some experts. Experts will actually increase the food outcome by quite a margin. So put them in whenever you can. But there is something more you have to look out for. First, make sure that you are building your farms in an area which have at least 3 apple symbols, aka 3 food production. That's the bare minimum you want to look for. What you actually want to get is the areas with 4 apples, or, well, in this case, this is a little bit upgraded and all. I have now already areas with 5 food in them. But 3 is the bare minimum, I say, for regions where you want to build your farms. Anything under it is a waste of time. You are wasting your time and your farms, and you will never get enough food out of it to really stay afloat. So look for those areas, please. The next thing you want to do is you want to put all the farms together, right? And not just build farms, build also specific upgradable buildings in the area to boost the farms. You can see right here that my farms are actually pushing out some serious amount of food, and that's also thanks to the grocer I built in this area, right? And the grocer is actually increasing the amount my farms will push out. Another thing which helps at the beginning are wells, right? I built a well over there, which wasn't really that smart. That was a waste of everything, so to speak. Don't do that. That was one of my mistakes. But build a well where your farms are. They will also increase the amount of food you will produce. The same goes with mills. If you have mills, build them there where your farms are and get an extra boost out of it. And it will help you more than just building a 5th farm in a 5 region, right? So keep that in mind. Another thing, let's talk about the sea area very quickly. So you can see here, fishing nets are not really making you food. Like if you just put fishing nets down to get the food from the region, it's not worth it. What you want to look out for is, though, if you have actually shellfish. If you can get like shellfish, they will produce quite a bit of food, and they will also produce some precious stones. Or if you can also get coastal fishery, those are the areas where you can definitely think about grabbing a zone, like this zone here in particular. It has coastal fishery, it has shellfish, and yes, they will produce enough food to justify getting that zone. But I would definitely say here, make sure that if you were using a 2-zone coastal zone, that they have both resources and not just one. Another thing you want to look out for, and this is, I think, what a lot of people are missing out, is amenities. Please make sure that you are using them. There are some really good amenities right at the beginning. You have the festival, you have the feast, right? There's tons of stuff you can put in here. The bread, which is giving you city food. Canned food is much later, but you can see here how amazing canned food is with 100 city food on its own. So you want to put that in. Like everything which basically gives you city food will help you quite a bit. Like the feast at the beginning, then you have the festival, the gourmet meals, the grain stores, also something you can get very early on. That's something you can get in the Bronze Age, I think it is. And that will give you some good food. A lot of people do not produce them or forget about those buildings. And then they are not building those items, those amenities, and then they are surprised why the cities are not growing. Get that. It helps you a great deal. Speaking about resources you should get, normally I'm not really talking about like rare resources because you never know if you will get them or not in your playthrough, but there's one resource which can give you tons of food, and you can see it already here. This farm is producing 135 food, and this is only an irrigated farm. This is not even an industrial farm. What is this? rice. This is rice because I have produced an insane amount of rice over time. You can see right here, I have 3,500 rice. I don't even know what to do with all this. And I switched over to food. And you can see that I only have a heavy plow in here, which again, you were getting at the high medieval era, 2 experts, and this farm is producing an insane amount of food. So if you can get rice, get it, see how much rice you need for production, and then switch all the other rice farms to food. That's how good rice is. And that's what keeps you afloat. Like, again, it's completely fine when you have moments where your city is losing some food. As long as your global food is fine and is supporting other cities, that happens from time to time. There's nothing much you can do about it. But again, if you're building the farms together, you're making sure that you are putting in some buildings which are actually buffing the farms around, and you are also putting the amenities in your city, then the growth of your city will just continue as it should, and people will not die left and right. With that said, thank you so much for watching. If you still have some questions, let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. And also, if you're new to the channel, you might want to subscribe because there are more RO videos coming. And we are also focusing here on strategy games. So if you love them, you came to the right place. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.